Welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be taking a look at creating this using 2D AutoCAD. Now I want to kind of give you some insight on this one, and if you've never done this before on any of the other videos, or maybe very few that you have to dig around to, is that you see here I do have a counterbore circle, right? So while we create that counterbore, there are some things that we have to do in order to make the notes read this, as well as the depth symbol that is located here. So if you stick around to the end of this video, when I get to start doing the dimensioning stuff, I'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to preference that by telling you is that we're going to have to jump into the character map. Okay, so before I get started, thank you for all the people that are watching and subscribing and coming back and looking at all of these videos. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for helping my channel grow and believing in me. All right, so this is what I drew in AutoCAD, and this is what we're going to create here. So you can see some of the things that may be a little challenging, and like I said in the intro here, we'll get to figuring this out once we get to the dimensioning part. The 2D of this should be super easy for us to knock out really quick. It's just going to be a piece of L, right? And we'll go ahead and create these views. So let's go ahead and start creating a new drawing here. So I'll go ahead and click the plus sign. And then we're going to start off by creating this line shape, right? Or this L shape I meant to say. But before I get started, let's go ahead and turn off the grid. I usually like to work by putting my ortho on, but that's, just kind of one of the old things I like to do. And here are going to be the running O snaps that I'm going to use, right? So these are the typical ones that you see me use all the time. All right, so we're going to start with the line command. I'm just going to draw a line going this direction, 100, and of course it's going to roll off my screen, and let's see if it's going to give me enough to where I can see the bottom of it. And if it don't, that's okay. Just hit escape and then zoom out. Come back to the line command and then continue from this end point here. I'll go up a distance of 100. I'm going to go up a height of 20. Now I'm going to come back here to the left, so we remember that this bottom line is set to 100 and this distance here is set to 20. So simply 100 minus 20 should give me a distance of 80 going here, as well as 80 going up this direction. And then I'm just going to click this endpoint here and then escape. Okay. So if we refer back to the drawing, remember we had two different chamfers on there, and I'll switch over to the drawing here in a second. And that's going to play a super important role of figuring out where these lines are going to show up that are going to display the edges. So jumping over to the AutoCAD drawing of it, you can see that here at the top here I have a chamfer that's set at 15 by 45, and on this side I have one that's set at 20. All this is telling me is that the distance that goes back from this line to this one, and I'm referring to the chamfer that's above here, should be 15, right? So all I have to do is offset this line back 15 and I'll get this edge. Likewise here on the top, if I offset this line down 20, I should get that edge. So I'm just going to do a simple offset. Give it a distance of 15. And that's going to be the offset for this line going to the left. Let's escape out of here. Go back to the offset command. And remember, we can just simply hit the enter button on my keyboard and it'll take me back to the last command. I'll type in 20. And then I'll go ahead and do the offset here. All right, so now I have those two edges that are set there. We do have a radius that is located here, and that radius should be 10. So we can just go to fillet, choose radius, go ahead and put our radius in, which is going to be 10. And then we're going to select the two lines that we want to put that radius between. Okay, so this view is actually completed. We just don't have the hidden surfaces that are showing right now, but we do have everything that would be visible. All right, so now I'm going to start working here on the top portion. There's kind of a few different ways how you can look at this, and one way is that you can simply just go ahead and kind of create this rectangle here at the top, and you can see the dimensions of it. So I have a rectangle that's sitting at 120 by 100. So if you see it that way, sure, absolutely, go ahead and create a rectangle there. Go ahead and do your offsets and go ahead and, complete it that way. Or you can extend lines going up to track off of it. Now in the videos before, I used some lines that extended off of it. This way, I'm going to show you just by looking at the geometry is I can go ahead and create that rectangle off of this one, and we should be able to create the exact same shape. So all I'm going to do is come to here. I'll go to the rectangle command. I want you to touch on this endpoint, and then I'm just going to track up above it, right? Give yourself a little distance, and from what I'm seeing on my screen, I'm roughly about 775 away from it. I can make that number exact, long as I got the tracking going up. Let's go ahead and just type in 75. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I have to locate where the next corner of this rectangle is going to be. Remember that I gave you the distance, so the length of this is going to be set at 100. So I'll type in 100. I'll hit the comma button, and the height of this should be sitting at 120. All right. Kind of looking down at this view, you can see that these are in line with each other. And that's going to be your super important thing to remember, that anytime you're creating projections of another object, these have to be in line with each other, or you're going to have to denote them with some kind of section line. All right. Now, working at this view here, we know that this edge goes over 20 because all it's doing is representing this front face here. To do that, I can use the offset command. Now remember that if I go ahead and use the offset command, this is one polyline, right? So in order to do that, I'll have to use the offset that's located inside of the X-line command, or I'll have to explode it. So either one of those options is going to be kind of open to you. I'm going to explode this one since I know I have to do some more modifications to this. So we're going to go to the explode command. Then I'll go ahead and select this square / rectangle. Go ahead and hit enter. All right, so from here, I'll go ahead and use the offset command. That distance, I look down here on my command line, it's already set to 20. So I'll just hit enter. And then I'm going to offset this line going forward this direction. Let's escape out of here. Now we'll refer back to those chamfers that are sitting on these corners, and they're sitting at 15. So what I'm going to do is go to the chamfer command. It's located underneath the fillet. I'll go to chamfer, distance, I'll type in 15, hit enter. And then once again, it always assumes that you're going to create a 45 degree. So 15 is going to be my next number as well. So I'll just hit enter. And I do have more than one of these, so I will choose the word multiple. And then I'll go ahead and select these two lines here. And I'll select these two lines here. Okay, so now I have my chamfer created. Go ahead and escape out of here. Let's go ahead and create this slot that's located here. Now we have a circle that is located about 35 off of the center of here. And what I'm referring to is that I have this located, and it's located 35 off of the front face, and it's located 60 down from here. Now here's some kind of geometry magic, and I know you can automatically see it from here, is that this is 120, and this number is half of that 120. So therefore, I can utilize the midpoint that's located on this line here. So I'm going to use that midpoint. I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a circle that has a radius of 15. So I'll go to the circle command and choose circle center radius. I'm going to go and touch. Do not click on the midpoint. Track off of it. Once I'm tracking away from it, I'll type in the number 35. Go ahead and hit enter. And then I'll type in my radius, which is 15. Enter. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and draw some lines. So I'll go a line from this quadrant. Remember, quadrant is one of my running O-snaps. So I'll select here, come forward and select to that perpendicular. Hit the escape button. Then I'll hit enter again on my keyboard to take me back to the line command. I'll select this quadrant, go to this quadrant, right to the perpendicular, hit escape. And then I'll go ahead and trim this, right? So go to the trim command, trim between here and here. And then when I come to this top view, remember that this is going to be that offset again, right? So what I'm doing is looking at how far is it on the top side. What I'm referring to is what we're going to be actually seeing is going to be this line here. Remember that that distance is set to 20. So that just tells me that when I come to the offset command, I'm going to utilize the 20 again, which is sitting here already. So just go ahead and hit enter. Select this line here, bring it down this way. Select this line here and move it to here. Escape out of that command and then just go to trim. Okay. Now we have another surface that is showing up on the inside of here as well. What I'm referring to is that we're going to have this circle part that's going to cut out, right? So it's going to leave a little bitty edge here at the top. So what we have to figure out is how to create that and show that over here, right? So it has a radius of 30. What that means is that from the center out to this distance, out to that distance is going to be 30, and likewise on the other side. So from the center to the edge of this should be 30. So the way I'm going to show this is just, I'll draw a line from this midpoint going to here, go to the offset command, give it a distance of 30, go ahead and hit enter. After that, select this line here, click here, select this line here, and then bring it down to here. Escape out of this command, and then get rid of that line there. Okay, so now we have the top view actually created. Once again, I do not have any of the hidden surfaces on here. That's going to be kind of up to you. Sometimes it's good to put hidden surfaces on, sometimes it's not. Not to say that it's incorrect if you do leave them off, but sometimes you can see that, especially in here, it can kind of get cluttered up. What I usually like to do is go ahead and create it regularly, and then once I start getting ready for my dimensioning and stuff of that nature, then I'll start determining if I'm going to put those hidden lines and things of that nature on, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and create this view. Now we can go back and we can start referring to trying to figure out how far this is going to be. So this bottom line, remember that this edge here is actually representing this edge here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a rectangle, just like we did here at the top. The number here, in this case, the X direction here is going to be 120, and the height of this will be set to 100. So let's go back to this view, go to the rectangle command. I'm going to touch, I'm going to track away from here. Just like I did with the top, I'm going to type in 75, hit enter, and then I have to give it its other coordinates, right? So this is going to be first 120, comma 100. All right. Also, just like I did before, I'm going to select my rectangle here. I'll explode it. Let's go to the offset command. Once again, our number should be set to 20. So go ahead and type in 20. Click here. And then I'll go ahead and select this line here and bring it above. Escape out of here. Let's go back to the offset command. Type in the number of 15. Hit enter. And what I'm going to do is represent these chamfers here at the bottom. So I'll select that line and place it here. Then one on this side going to here. Let's go ahead and trim this. So I'm just trimming here. Now we do have this surface that's located here in the middle, and what I'm trying to represent here is going to be actually this view here located on here. Remember the width of this one, right? So the radius of here that we used was 15, so that just tells me from the center going outward is 15. So like we created that big circle at the top there, I'll start with the line command, come from this midpoint going down, escape out of here, go to the offset command. Remember that number is 15, hit enter, select this line here, click one time to the left, select this line here, and then go to the right. And let's go ahead and get rid of this middle line here by deleting it. Okay, so this bottom portion is actually created. Let's go ahead and put our circle that's located here. So I'll go to circle, center radius. And we can also use an arc if you're comfortable using arcs. And maybe this time I will show you using an arc. Typically what I would do, and I'll show you this and then I'll come back and get rid of it. But I'll start with a circle center radius. I'll click at this midpoint. And then I'll go ahead and type in the radius of my circle, which is going to be 30. And then I'll just trim this, right? So we can use the trim command and go ahead and knock out these. Nothing wrong with doing it this way. right? But I'm going to undo back. And then what I'm going to use is the arc command, right? Just to show you that you can get away with using these arcs, but you got to know some things, right? So what do I know? Well, in this case, I do know the radius of this one. So I can look for something that has a radius. I know where the center of it is because the center of it is going to be located somewhere here in the middle. So do I have one that'll give me something with a radius and something that has a center? And I'm looking through my list here, and I don't think I have anything with that. But the only thing I have with the radius is a start, end, and a radius, right? So I'm going to try to see if this is going to work, and hopefully it does. If it doesn't, then we'll go back to the original way that I did this. But I'm kind of looking through some of these other ones. Okay, so start, end, radius. So I'll click here. So our first thing I have to do is give it the start point. Now I want you to also look on your command line that says, hey, instead of giving me the start point, why don't you give me the center? So I'm going to click here and say, I'm going to go and locate the center of my arc, which is going to be located right at this midpoint. Next is saying, hey, where's the start point, right? And I want it to start somewhere along here. Where do I want it to end? Somewhere along here. And now I thought it would give me the radius, and maybe I'm going to try that again because I think I may have switched it to a start, center, radius one. Let's go ahead and delete this one, and I'm going to try this one more time. Let's go and choose a start, end, radius. Start here, end here. And no, actually, now that I think about it, it's not going to work because once I type in the radius of 30, it can't figure that out because the distance is too long. So I think in this case, we're going to have to use the start, end, radius. Well, I do have another option. Okay. Once again, this is where my mind kind of goes crazy and I think of a bunch of different things. I can use a start, center, a center, start, end one. If I do that, I can select here. I can pick the center of this. And then I can track away from this, right? Remember the radius of our circle is going to be at 30. So I can type in 30 this direction. And then I can go this direction and type in 30. And then it should give me that circle. And then the rest of this, I just have to trim these portions between here, right? Now, I just want to make sure that this number is set to 30, right? Because that's the most important thing, is that our radius is going to be set to 30. So I'm just going to measure the radius of this. And you can see that it does give me a radius of 30. So we can use the center, start, end. I just have to tell it that the radius is 30 away from one side and 30 away from the other, right? All right, so I hope I didn't kind of go around that the long way or confuse you a little bit on that. But if that's the case, you can always use that first method that I showed you by creating the circle. Okay, let's next go ahead and do the chamfer. Let's go to distance, set that number equal to 20. Go ahead and hit enter, and then hit enter again because it's going to be 20 for both. And then what I'm going to do next is tell it that I have multiple. I'll go ahead and click here and here. And then here and here. Okay. Last thing I need to do is I need to go ahead and locate these circles. Now remember that the circles are going to be 53 up from here. So I'll go ahead and offset this line up going 53. Let's go here and move it up. And then I can offset from this edge going over to here at the 23. And all of these numbers I'm just getting directly off the drawing. So it's going to be 53 going up, 23 off of this edge, and then 74. Now, I could have also shown you a way to do them just by one step. But a lot of times, especially if you're beginning to use AutoCAD, it's always good to go ahead and make these reference lines. So these reference lines, that way you're just snapping to intersections and endpoints and things of that nature. So let's go to the offset command. First one I'm going to type in is 23. And I'm going to offset this line over 23. Now, I can really, on this example, get away with offsetting this line over at 23. Mainly because if you do the math on this, those circles are going to be symmetrical, right? But if you didn't know that, the best way of always doing this and to make sure that you do it right is to go back to the offset command, type in 74, and then offset this line across going this direction, right? But I can tell you that the distance from here to here is going to be 23 as well. Okay. let's go ahead and place my circle here. So I'll go ahead and choose a circle center diameter. And this is where reading those notes are going to come in at. So I'm going to go to circle center diameter. I'll go to this intersection. I'm going to place my diameter circle at 16. Then I'll go back to the circle center diameter, go right on the inside of here, and then I'm going to place that circle in there at 8. All right. I can go ahead and copy this. So I'll go to copy, and once again, if I didn't know that, or if I didn't see it symmetrical, because I could mirror this across, but just to kind of make sure that I'm using everything right, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Once you're done selecting, go ahead and hit the enter button. Go from that center to that intersection. Oh, look like I hit the escape button too quickly. Let's go back to copy, select my objects, hit enter. Click on this center here, and then I'll click on where it perpendiculars, hit the escape button. And then the last thing I have left to do is go ahead and delete these lines here. Okay. So now if we kind of take a look at our view and see what we have, you can see that everything that is that will be visible that we need to see will be seen on these views. We will go ahead and put the hidden views on here, but they're going to show up here. So you're going to have to wait a little bit until I get past the isometric to do that. Now the isometric will take a little bit of work, mainly because we have some things that are, not standard, I guess. Number one is going to be creating this radius on here. And then the next thing we're going to have on here is going to be creating some counterbore circles, right? So let's go ahead and jump over to that. And remember that if you want to kind of skip through any of these videos, I do have them chaptered. So you don't have to sit here and, watch this part. You can always skip to the next one. So that's something I've been recently doing with my most recent videos, is trying to put chapters in them. Okay, so let's jump to the isometric portion of this. First thing we need to do is we need to switch to ISO draft, right? So I'm just going to select that icon here. Your cursor in the middle should change. Remember, we can toggle through this with F5, or you can you're more than welcome to select the fly ups here next to it. Okay, let's go ahead and start off by creating a line. And I'm going to start off here in ISO left, actually. So let's go to ISO left. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go back this direction, 20. Let's go down 100. Let's come this direction. And once again, this is super important that you do keep your ortho on. I'm going to go this direction at 100. Let's go up 20. Go back this direction at 80. And then see to close. All right. So this is all the normal stuff that we did in the first thing, right? Next, let's go ahead and create this ISO circle here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to ellipse, and remember that we have to type it in. So EL, enter, and then we'll get the option for an ISO circle here on my command line. I'll just type I, enter. And then I have to locate the center of it. I'll go ahead and place it right here on this center at that end point, kind of expand out and give it a preview. And then the radius of it will be set to 10. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this circle up 10 and to the right 10. So let's go to move. Select the circle. Enter. I'm going to click here. I'm going to go up a distance of 10. Hit enter. Go back to the move command. Select this circle again. Enter. And move it this direction, a distance of 10. Okay. So now I do have my fillet located on here. Let's go ahead and trim this. So I'll go to the trim command. I'm going to trim between here and here. Okay. Next, I'm going to take these lines here that I'm pre-selecting. I'm going to copy them. Let's go ahead and switch to isometric right. I'll pick a base point here. And then I have to tell it how far to go over this direction. Remember, this distance is going to be set to 120. And what I usually like to do is start off by drawing one line that goes around from this endpoint to here. And then I will copy that line. So I'll go to copy, select this line here, hit enter. And I'm just going to go from this endpoint, and then I'll click all of these other endpoints. So here, at these endpoints here, and here along the top. Okay. So that's the first part, really simple, easy enough to do. All right. Now, I want to kind of do something already here because I'm going to give you two options of locating these circles here. And I'm going to knock these out already because I can come back and do them later, but I want to kind of explain it to you kind of now what's going to happen. So before I do anything, I'm going to take this line here and I'm going to extend it back down to this where it intersects to here. So instead of trimming, I will go to the extend command and I'm going to select this line here and extend it here, right? And you should agree with me that this is at the front face of this plane here. Let's go ahead and choose the copy command. I'm going to select this line here, hit enter. I'm going to click here and I'm going to go this direction, 23, go ahead and hit enter. And then I'm going to do a little math, just adding the 23 plus the 74, right? So that should be, what, 97? And then, as long as I'm aiming this direction, I'm just going to type in 97, right? Go ahead and hit the escape button. And now I have my two lines here. Then I just need to do one other thing, right? The total length of this line needs to be 53 from this bottom face going up. Well, there's a command that we can use that'll make that super simple for us. And we can use the lengthen command to do that. So I'll go to lengthen. And then I'll choose the word total. I'm going to type in 53. Go ahead and hit enter. And I'll go ahead and click at the top of these. Okay. So the overall height of this line should be 53. All right. Next, let's go ahead and place in our ISO circles here. So EL, enter, I enter. I'm going to select this endpoint here, kind of give it a preview, select the word diameter, and then what I'm going to do is type in the diameter, which is going to be 16. Okay. Let's go ahead and switch out of isometric right back to isometric left. I'm going to copy this circle, and this is where the depth comes into play. So I'm going to copy this circle, go ahead and hit enter, give a base point here, and I'm going to go back this direction, the depth of it. And the depth of that circle is going to be sitting at 8. All right, so I'll escape out of that. Next, I'm going to work just strictly with this back circle here. Let's go back to isometric right. Type in EL, enter, I enter for ISO circle, go to the center here, and then kind of give yourself a preview of it. And this one has a diameter of 12, so I'll select the word diameter and type in 12. Okay, so now this is everything that you're seeing here is what's going to show through, because if I send this circle back another 8, you'll see that it should not appear, but I can show you how to check that just in case. If I switch to the isometric left, and if I did a copy, just on this circle here, and hit enter, pick a base point here, and send it back another 8. And the reason I chose 8 is that gives me the total length of that, right? This total length of here is 20. So I went back 12, and 20 minus 12 should leave me with 8. But you're not going to see this. Only thing you're going to see is everything that's inside of this circle here. So let's go ahead and delete this circle. Let's use the trim command. And then let's get rid of everything we won't see, right? So that's going to be the only thing that's going to show up here. All right. Now, I don't want to do all that again. It's going to be a lot easier for us to copy this. So I'm just going to use the copy command. Let's put a window around it. Go ahead and hit enter. Let's go from this endpoint here, and then I'm just going to click on this endpoint here. All right, go ahead and delete these lines here, and then go back and trim this back up. Okay, next let's go ahead and switch back to our isometric right. Let's go ahead and put our circle that's on the top of here, so EL, enter, I enter. I'm going to select this midpoint here and give it a radius of 30. Okay, we're going to copy. So I'll go to the copy command, select this circle, enter. Just going to click this endpoint here to that endpoint. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and start trimming these things. Before I do that, let's go ahead and connect them with some lines. So I'm just going to draw a line from that intersection going to this intersection here. And if you want, you can also copy these lines here. So I could just copy this line from this endpoint to that intersection as well. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and start trimming. So let's go ahead and trim off this portion here, because we know that they have to come to these lines here. All right, so that's the first thing that I like to do. Next thing I like to do is get rid of this line going across, since we know that that won't exist on either one of these views. And then you know we can see this. What we can't see is going to be these portions here. Okay. All right. And we're almost done here with the top portion, right? All right, so what I'm going to do next is that I'm going to go ahead and start making my chamfer that's going to be located here along the top. So I'll go to the copy command, and once again, make sure that you're in isometric right. So I'm going to select these two lines. And of course, I'm going to have some extra stuff, but I'm just going to do them that way I can knock them out really quick. Go ahead and hit enter. I'm going to click a base point here, and I'm just going to aim this direction. And remember that this is that top radius up here. So I'm going to go this direction, 20. Then I'm going to send it this direction, 20. And then I'm going to come down this direction, 20. Okay. So now I do have some extra lines. Let's go ahead and get rid of them. So these two lines here are going to be my extras. I'll go ahead and draw a line from this intersection here to that endpoint. Likewise on the back. So here to here. And then on this side, we got something that's kind of strange happening. We don't need to do anything to this side. It's already set to the 45 degrees that we're going to need. So next, let's go ahead and trim off these portions. Likewise on this side. Okay, so the top portion of this is actually done now. Next, let's go ahead and start working with the surface here. So I'm going to switch to an isometric top, just so my cursor is in line with that plane. I'm going to draw a line going from this midpoint back this direction at 35. Go to the ellipse command, so EL, enter, I enter. Go ahead and go to that endpoint here. Go ahead and give myself a preview of it. Type in 15. Use the copy command. Select this line here. Hit enter. Pick a base point out here. I'm going to go 15 this direction. And then 15 this direction. I can go ahead and erase this center line here. Let's go ahead and use the copy command here. So I'm just going to copy those three objects. Enter. From this endpoint here, going down to that endpoint. Okay. Go ahead and select this line here. Copy that line. From this endpoint going to, we have an intersection, but we want that endpoint here and an endpoint here. Okay. Last thing I need to do on this portion here while I'm creating this is go ahead and start doing some trimming, right? So kind of like I did with the beginning part, I'm going to get rid of this arc that's going around both of these first. So that arc is gone. And let me zoom in and get rid of the rest of this arc that's running around here. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is get rid of this line here in the middle, since we won't see that. And then we start looking at what we're going to see happening here. Well, we don't see anything that's on this side. Okay, it looks like we have that created. And next we just need to go ahead and put these last chamfers on the inside of this, right? So, unlike the top view, I guess I can copy these going both ways. Okay, yeah, I think we should be able to get away with it. So let's go back to the copy command, select this line here, and then this one, hit enter. I'll pick a base point out here, and remember that the chamfers located on this one are 15. So I'm going to go this direction, 15, enter, this direction, 15, and then I'm just going to take it back this direction, 15. Okay, let's escape out of here. Let's go ahead and delete these two lines here. Here at the bottom, I'm going to connect the line from this endpoint or intersection to that one. Likewise here on the bottom, so back to the line command, here to here. Okay. Now, all we have left to do is just go ahead and trim. So I'll go to the trim command, get rid of all of this that is touching this stuff here. Likewise here on the back. So I'm just going to kind of cut through this with a fence. Okay. All right, and it looks like everything looks good on the isometric, right? So now we're able to get ready to start setting this up for the drawing portion of it. Okay, so next let's go ahead and get out of the isometric. Take a look at everything together. I'll go ahead and move this from here to here. Okay. Next, let's go ahead and create a rectangle, which is going to be our title block, and I'm going to use a B size one on this one. So I'm going to start off with the rectangle command. I'm going to type in 0, 0 as my lower left corner, hit enter. 17, 11 is going to be my upper right. Go ahead and hit enter. You can see that there's my title block. Use the offset command. Give it a distance of 0.25. And just offset this to the inside at 0.25. Always group this together, basically making a block out of it. So I'll highlight it, go to the word create. I usually like to call it title block, so just TB, and go ahead and hit OK. Okay, so from this point, this is when I'll start opening up my properties window. So I'm going to select here, do a right click, and choose properties. Should open up this dialog box, and I like to keep this open for the remainder of my drawing here. Let's go ahead and dock it a little bit better. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I want to do with this is, let's go ahead and take a look at some scales here. Let's see. I'm just going to shoot at 35 and see what that gives me. And it looks like I got a pretty good guess here on the first shot. Okay. So I'm going to move this. I'm going to go from this midpoint here. Let's go ahead and turn the ortho off when I'm moving this stuff around to here. And then I'm going to go ahead and move this also. All I did was come back to the move command, highlight here. And then let's go ahead and place this somewhere here. Okay. So now I have all of my views kind of constructed the way I want to. Now I can move these around a little bit. I don't have to keep these at this certain distance. And another thing I typically like to do is scale this down. So I'll go to the scale command. Let's put a window around here. Enter. Pick a base point. And I usually like to give it a scale factor of 0.75. So that shrinks it just enough. So when I move this, I can get it a little bit better in this corner here. Let's go ahead and put the ortho back on, and then we can move this over. So I'm going to select it first, and I'll just hit M on my keyboard. Okay. All right. So to kind of speed up the keystrokes on this video a little bit, I'll start typing in the commands so you know where they are at the top. I think most of the commands you're already able to see. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by creating my layers, right? So go to the layer properties. The ones that I know I'm going to need is going to be a hidden layer. So I'm just going to type here, HID, enter. And we're going to need a center one. So CEN, enter. And then we're going to need one for dimensions, right? DIM, enter. All right, let's go ahead and assign some colors to this. The dimension one, let's go ahead and make it a magenta. And let me go ahead and move this so you can see it. And then the next one is going to be my center layer. I'm going to go ahead and make that. Let's go ahead and make it cyan. My hidden layer, let's go ahead and make it red. Okay. And then it comes to the layer. So my line type for my hidden one will be load. Let's go ahead and take a look at the hidden too. Hit OK. Select it. Then hit OK. For my center one, I'm going to go ahead and select it here. Go to the word load. Scroll down to when I see the center to the 0.5. Hit OK. Select it here. Then hit OK. And it should update it here. Okay. And then your dimension one is going to be continuous. Likewise with your zero layer. Okay. Let's go ahead and close this. Next, we need to figure out what our scale factor, right? We already typed in 35 as my scale factor. Do I want to keep it at 35? Well, in this case, it does look like everything will fit on here. And so I have to decide, am I going to use the annotation scale, which is sitting here, or am I going to use the standard method of doing things? So I think a lot of my other videos, I used to go ahead and do the annotation one. This one, I'm going to use the standard option. So I'm going to be doing everything standard. So if you're going to do standard option, the first thing you need to do here is set your line type scale. So LTS, enter. Set this number equal to whatever your scale factor is. And in this case, it's going to be 35. All right. So the next thing I need to do is go ahead and set up my center layers and center marks, right? So the center layer command still works here. And then I'm going to set that equal to center. All right. And then I'm going to also adjust my center EXE. And I'm just going to make this number 3. Okay. So now what I did is I'm ready to start putting my center lines and center marks and things of that nature on here. But now before I do that, I want to decide, am I going to put these hidden features on here? And the answer to that question is going to be yes. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing that now on this one. So when I come to looking at this one, what I do know is that I have a hidden surface that is right below here, right? This distance going down from here is at 30, or I can do a line. I can touch this midpoint, try not to touch anything else until I come here, select this intersection, and go right across to this one. Hit escape, and then this one will be a hidden line, right? So I can select this surface here and say, hey, that's going to be a hidden surface here. Likewise here at the top. This surface here is going to show through here at the bottom. So back to the line command. What I try to do is touch. Try to get away from not touching anything else. Come down. When you hit this intersection, do a left click here. Come right down. Left click there. Hit escape. And then we can use the match properties command. Remember, you always select the one you want to mimic first. And then you select here. Okay, so that's going to be those two surfaces. For the part that's going in here for the counterbore holes, I will do some construction lines just to show you what's going to happen here. So I will come here to go and use a construction line. That's going to be horizontal. And then I'm going to select each one of these quadrants. Okay. Now remember with this one, the depth does come into play. So it tells me that it has a depth of 8. So I'll use the offset command. Offset distance should be 8. And I'm going to select this front line here and send it to here. Okay. Next, we just need to do some trimming. So I'm just going to trim this to here. I'm going to trim all of these lines going here. Likewise here in the back. All right. Next, I'm going to go ahead and set this up, right? So I'm going to trim off these lines here. Then I'll trim off these ones in the back. All right. Let's go ahead and escape out of this command. Next, let's go ahead and use our match properties. Select the hidden line first, and I'll go ahead and put a window across here. All right, so that surface now is already completed. I want to transcribe that up here to the top. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to do an offset of 23. Now I'll offset this line going here and this one going to here. Now we figured that out earlier since this is symmetric, so that's why I'm able to get away with that. All right, let's take a look at here. Let's go to the copy command. I'll put a window around this portion, hit enter, go to this midpoint, zoom out, and then where it perpendiculars with this line is where I'm going to click. So it perpendiculars here, and it perpendiculars here. Let's escape out of here, and then we're able to get rid of these two lines here. Okay, so now we have all of our hidden lines and hidden surfaces that are located on this one. Next, let's go ahead and put our center marks on. So we're going to jump to the annotation scale. I'll go ahead and put my center marks. So I'll select here, these ones here, as well as this one here. Okay. Now this may be a little too long, so I'm just going to escape out of that command, and I'm just going to move these back a little bit, right? So let's move it back about 15. And let's bring this down maybe 15 as well. There's no need for it to be extending super duper long. Okay. Let's go ahead and put some center lines in here. So let's go to center line, and I'm going to select this line here and this one. We do have one that's showing here, so back to the center line. I have it here and here. Okay. And I think that's going to be all the center lines I need. Okay. With these, I'm just going to select both of them. And then I'm going to change the line type scale. Let's see what 0.5 does. Yes, it shows up. Perfect. Okay. Now we're ready to start putting some dimensions on. So just regular dimensions. Let's go ahead and set up our dimension style. So I'll select here. Remember, I'm using the standard. So I'm going to go to modify. And we're going to start off at the primary units. We're going to go ahead and suppress the trailing zeros. We're going to go to our next tab underneath the fit. Once again, we're using the standard option, so this number needs to be set at 35. Underneath the text, let's go ahead and make it 0.125. And then we went through all the trouble of making our center marks, so we're just going to go ahead and tell it, hey, no need for you to put them on. Go ahead and hit OK, and then close. Okay, so the dimensions should go through rather quickly. So these are just going to be mostly linear dimensions, so I'm just going to go to linear and start knocking out as many of these as I can. Now, the one thing that I should have done, let's go ahead and erase this, is that I should have put these on the correct layer. So my dimension layers need to go on dimension. Now let's start putting our dimensions on. So we have a dimension from here to here. And I'm just going to hit the enter button, and I'm going to do all of my linear dimensions first, and then we'll come back and do the other ones, right? Remember that I want this dimension on the outside, so I'm just going to select this endpoint here on the inside first, and then that should kick it to the outside. And I will say it again, all I'm going to do is just keep hitting the enter button because I'm going to do all of my linear dimensions first. So I'm going from here to here. And once again, I like to keep everything in line with each other if I can. Send this one going to the top. Yep, we got a couple of more dimensions to put on here, and then I get to explain to you how to use the character map, which I've done in one video, but I can't remember in a recent video if I actually done that. Okay, next let's go ahead and knock out our radius dimension. So we have a couple of those. So radius dimension, we have one located here. And once again, if you're getting this extension, that's because you're probably way out here. If you come a little closer and kind of cycle it through here, you'll get the smaller one. All right. And remember, you can also turn this off in the properties window. We do have another radius dimension, and it's located here. And let's put the one that's located here at the top. Okay. And now for the last step I need, these are going to be leaders. So I can set up quick leaders for these, but it's going to be a lot simpler for me. a multi-leaders for these. But I'm just going to show you a quick leader, since I don't think we've ever discussed quick leaders too much on here, right? So a quick leader, the shortcut for it is just QL. Go ahead and hit QL and hit enter. And then I'm going to go ahead and adjust my settings first. So I'm going to go down to the word setting. And then I'm going to go to the attachments. And then I'm just going to make both of them at the middle of the top line. Okay, the symbols and arrows and everything will be fine, and the annotation. All of this stuff is going to take the properties of what I'm using already. So my dimension style is already set up. It's already understanding what the dim scale is. So I'll just go ahead and hit OK. All right, so now my quick leaders are set up. Let's go ahead and put the first one on here. So I'm just going to type in QL. Once again, that's quick leader. I'll click on this midpoint. Let's turn our ortho off. I'm just going to come down here and place it here. So once I do that left click, after that I'm just going to hit enter. And then it says, tell me the width or how long you want your dimension to be. So I'm just going to click it out right about here. And now it's going to be ready for me to type in my first line, right? If I don't like to do it this way, I can always hit the enter button and it'll bring me up into the M text, right? So I can type in from here 15x 45, and then if I don't remember what degrees is, it's located here. So I can go to degrees and I can hit the enter button to go underneath here, type in 2 places, and let's go ahead and turn my caps lock on. Okay, then I can hit close on this, and then it will create my linear, right? My leader. I'm going to select this, and then I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the correct layer. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and do the next one. So back to QL, enter. I want you to click this midpoint. I'm going to drag out somewhere to here, do a left click here, hit enter, and then hit enter again if you want to bring up the M text. From here, you can type in the 20 by 45, and once again, I can also type in the %D. So I don't have to come up here and rely on it. If you know it, you can always type in %D, and it automatically kicks that, right? This is also going to be 2 places. I'll go ahead and close this. And then we deal with what's happening here, right? So I can use a dimension that is a diameter one, and I can select here and go ahead and place it. So from here is where I'm just going to start editing this, right? So I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to zoom into it a little bit just so we kind of get an idea. I'm going to come to the end of this, and then I'm going to put in a space, and I'm going to type in 8. Then I'll go ahead and type in my next line here, which is going to be the diameter symbol. 12, THRU. Hit enter, and then type in the 2 places. And the reason I'm doing this is type in all of your text first before you jump into dealing with the character map. Mainly because everything after that, it tries to change your text, right? So let's go up here to the front, go to symbols, then I'm going to come down here to other. Once the other happens, and I got to give it a second for it to find the character map, what we're going to look for is the one that's called GDT, right? So underneath GDT, this is where you're going to find the counter bore symbol. So I'm going to select that, and then I'm going to copy that. Here, I'm going to come here and I'm going to do a paste, right? Let's go ahead and get rid of that space behind here and hit the delete button, and that should put it on the same line. Likewise here with the depth. So I'm going to select here. I'm going to select the symbols, go to others. It should bring my character map back up. And what I'm looking for in this one is going to be the depth symbol, right? Depth symbol is located here. Select, copy. I'm going to close this guy here. I'm located here. I'll just do a Control V in this case. Set the backspace onto that. Then I can close this, right? And now you can see that it will give me that what I wanted. All right, so I do have everything that I have listed here. Let's go ahead and do my match properties. And then I'm just going to select this dimension and tell it to match it to that one. Okay. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I know it was a little long, but I wanted to try to give you as much explaining on this as I possibly could have. And like I say, if you enjoyed it, and hopefully you stayed around for this, and hopefully you keep coming back and watching these videos. So I want to just thank you for tuning in, and until the next time I get to drafting something new. So thank you for watching this.